IELTS Speaking Marking Scheme. This is a very important aspect of the speaking exam to know, because if you do not know the marking scheme, then you do not know what you are supposed to be doing in the exam. So to know the marking scheme is important because you will deliver what the examiner expects of you. So when you know the marking scheme, you will be knowing what the examiner is looking for, and you will give them exactly that. When you know that the examiner is looking for good pronunciation, you give them just that. You know that the examiner is looking for good flow, you give them just that. So it is very critical to know the marking scheme of the speaking exam, and that is what we are going to look at in this lesson. I want to ask you to be very attentive because we are going to be look at it comprehensively. At the end of this lesson, you are going to understand the IELTS Speaking Marking Scheme, and you'll be following it when you're doing your simulations. Now, when we talk about this marking scheme for the IELTS speaking exam, we have 4 things that examiners look for. And this means that if you fulfill the 4 items of the marking scheme, you will be good. And these 4 things are which ones? Number 1, examiners look for fluency and coherence. What this means is that you have to be fluent enough. That means that your ideas are flowing logically, logical flow of ideas. So when you are speaking, you are organizing your thoughts and your ideas in such a way that someone can be able to follow them without getting lost, without wondering what exactly you are talking about, and that you can construct a story that has a good beginning and a good development and a good ending. So your ideas have to be coherent enough. There has to be an aspect of cohesion. The ideas have to be marrying and agreeing with one another. And that is how you're going to achieve fluency and coherence. The second one is lexical resource. Now, lexical resource is just a big word for vocabulary. You need to use the right vocabulary. And when we talk about vocabulary, we do not mean complicated words or complex words. We mean the right words for what you are describing. The third aspect is grammatical range and accuracy. And here we have everything to do with grammar when you are speaking. And the last one is pronunciation. Now we are going to look at each of these 4 aspects individually and look at the breakdown of what is needed for each particular aspect of the marking scheme, so that by the end of the day you understand what exactly you are supposed to do and what exactly you are supposed to give the examiners. Now let's start by looking at fluency and coherence. Now, a candidate who speaks at band 9 and is awarded at a band 9 or even a band 8, this is a candidate who speaks fluently, satisfactorily. The examiner can say that I had everything was flowing well, and the examiner can attest that there was no repetition. This candidate has no repetition. And if repetition has to be there, then repetition is very rare. And remember, when we talk about repetition, there's also a brother of repetition called hesitation. When you don't have ideas, when you don't have words, you tend to hesitate, and at the same time, now as you try to imagine or look for ideas, you hesitate and repeat yourself. So this person has rare repetition. So in your speaking, you need to avoid repetition. And then another aspect of fluency and coherence is self-correction. Rare self-correction would mean is that this person makes few mistakes, But when they make a mistake, they are able to realize that I've made a mistake, and they self-correct themselves. But now the mistakes are rare, and if you have fewer mistakes, then you will have rare self-correction. So this one is about hesitation, and two reasons you can hesitate. You can hesitate because you don't have ideas. You can also hesitate because you have ideas, yes, but you don't have the words or the good grammar to put what you are thinking about in content in terms of speaking. So the person who has enough words in English and generates enough ideas will not hesitate, will not have this problem. Therefore, they will be speaking very fluently. Now, coherent and cohesive enough, this just means that you're organizing your ideas well, and they are agreeing with one another. You are moving from A to B to C to D to E, all through towards Z. But this person who moves from A, then goes to D, comes back to B, this person is not cohesive enough. Now, this person who also gets a band 8 or 9 has very developed topics. When they start a topic and complete sentences, these ones go together, that when they start a topic, they complete it before going to another one, and they develop it fully. When they are giving an example, they give a full example. They do not just start a sentence and before they complete the idea they were talking about, they go to another idea without completing the first idea. So completing your topics, developing your topics well, and completing your sentences counts a lot in terms of achieving fluency and coherence. Now, as you do that, of course, you'll have to use the right vocabulary, appropriate vocabulary, but we are going to look at that individually, actually, in this part. Lexical resource is everything to do with vocabulary use. That how do you organize your vocabulary, and what kinds of words have you chosen to express what you are talking about. And when you talk about flexibility in vocabulary use, it means that this person doesn't have a very meager resource of vocabulary, that they keep on using a few words that they have reserved for the sake of this exam. But when we talk about flexibility, we mean that this person has enough words that they are varying in their conversation. That if you ask them the same question twice, they can answer that question using different words, because you will find that some questions may be similar. Now, if you ask this person a similar question, they answer the same question using a different language because of the flexibility in terms of their vocabulary use. The other thing we talk about in vocabulary is the idiomatic expression, that a person who is well versed in English is someone who can express themselves using idioms. Remember, when we talk about band 9, this is an expert user in English. This is the best score you can get in IELTS. So this person can express themselves very well in terms of idioms. Satisfactory precision in the use of vocabulary. That when they use a word, that is a vocabulary, they use it exactly where it should be used. That's what we mean by precision. And what about when we talk about accurate use of language? Some people can assume to be using language, that they are good users of English, but they are not using language accurately. They are using words wrongly, and therefore that person will not be getting the required marks for vocabulary. So it's important that you understand the words you are choosing to use, and when you are describing something, you choose the right word to describe it. Say, for example, you want to talk about a machine that works well. Instead of talking about a machine that works very well, you will be talking about a very efficient machine. A very efficient machine. That this machine is very effective in whatever it is doing. So the words effective, effectively, instead of very well, those are vocabulary. So they are not complicated words, but they are just the right words to describe what you're describing. Now, grammatical range and accuracy, the third aspect of the marking scheme, This has everything to do with grammar mistakes. Now, this person who gets a band 9 and band 8 has no struggle with both simple and compound sentences. That means they can construct very good compound sentences, blended sentences, simple sentences, phrases, clauses. Now they have well-structured sentences. When they talk, we do not have issues with sentence structure. Their subject-verb agreements are good and satisfactory, and they have a mixed sentence structure such that in their conversations you can hear simple sentences, blended, compound, and they are using them in the right manner. Now, this person also has consistent, accurate structural flow of ideas, that the ideas are flowing well, and they are consistent, not that they have some good structural flow in some parts and in others they don't have. That person will be dropping to band 6. But when they are speaking with consistency, they may remain at band 8 or 9. Correct use of articles. They are an. This person, when you ask them a question concerning the internet, they are using the word they before the word internet. The other person who does not use articles correctly will talk about I often use internet, and they will not be using the word the. So this person who knows how to use article the, article a, article an well, this is a person who is going to garner more marks than the other person. Correct display of punctuations. This person, when they pause, you can tell that they have paused. When they are completing a sentence, you can tell that they have a full stop there. And it's in conversation. When they are asking a question, an exclamation mark, or they're showing some kind of exclamation, you will know by the way they are putting their stress and intonation. So grammar, anything to do with grammar falls under grammatical range and accuracy and will be very critical in your exam. Now, the fourth aspect is pronunciation. How do you pronounce words in English? Precision in stress and intonation. Where do you put stress in words? Where do you put intonation in words? That when someone who comes from a very far part of the globe, who does not use your accent, comes to speak with you, both you and them, you can speak and understand one another because you are using the right intonation and stress per English definitions. So you need to learn how to pronounce words correctly, because the examiner should not struggle to understand what you are saying. When you are not using the right stress and intonation, the examiner will struggle to understand what you are talking about, and they may not understand what you want to mean. But remember, you need to have a level of naturality in the way you speak out English words, because you do not need to imitate anyone. You do not need to copy the accent of any person. One good thing with IELTS is that you will not be penalized, or you cannot lose marks because of your accent. We have so many accents in the world, and different people from all those accents sit for the IELTS exam and they pass. They get the required band scores. So it's not a matter of your accent, it's a matter of pronouncing words correctly. So even if you have a heavy tongue, in quotes, for example, you do not need to worry about that. What you need to worry about is how do we pronounce words. And today, in the era of the internet, you can even go to Google, and Google can help you in terms of how words are supposed to be pronounced. And you do some exercises there and confirm how words should be pronounced. So just to wind up, 4 things that are very important in IELTS speaking. which examiners look for. The first one is fluency and coherence. Lexical resource is the second one. Grammatical range and accuracy is the third one. Pronunciation is the fourth one. Now, the moment you are speaking, considering all those four aspects of the marking scheme, then you are at the level where you should get a band 9 in IELTS speaking. You should know that when the moment you start speaking, the examiner now starts looking at those four aspects, and whenever you make mistakes per the definitions of those four aspects, then the examiner starts to deduct marks. Now, that's the end of this presentation. Remember that this presentation has been brought to you courtesy of Passcode Global Consultants. We do teach IELTS, both academic and general. And if you need any assistance, do not fail to contact us. Until we meet in the next presentation, I want to wish you all the best. Thank you very much.